Good evening. See, people are coming in. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is David Cashman. I'm with SEB Housing. And tonight I'm going to be running the lottery for you for 71 and 73 Warren Ave in Milton. And I'm just going to wait a sec because I see that some folks are coming in. And it's just 6 now. So give it a minute and then we'll get started. Are there any questions at the moment? And you may have questions after I've gone through some of the details, and that's totally fine too, but figured I'd just open it up now, just in case anyone has any questions that they know of already.
I think you'll probably get to this, but you'll say the total number of applicants, right?
Yeah, there were 22, but yep, I will
okay.
definitely get into that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. Any other questions? Okay. All right, let's get started. Others can join as they come in. So let me share my screen here. Here we go. All right. All right, so you should be able to see my screen. And I'll send this around to you with the results tonight too. I'm going to be sorting the results, creating the waiting lists, so you know exactly where you stand. I'll send those by email tonight. If there was anyone who didn't have an email, I forgot to check. I'll put it in the postal mail, and you'll just have to wait a few days to get it. But hopefully, you have an email. You'll get something by later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, and it'll have this document that I'm going to go through right now, as well as additional information about next steps, both for the top households who are moving forward right away and for households who are lower on the waiting list, who are waiting to see what happens with households ahead of them and the waiting lists themselves. So I'll get you all that information. So without further ado, we had 22 completed applications for these 2 units. As you know, there is a 3-bedroom unit and a 4-bedroom unit. So there will be 2 different waiting lists created tonight from the lottery drawing. What do the waiting lists do? They basically just establish the order of priority for who's going to get the first chance to buy these units. Everyone will be on the waiting list for the unit sizes that they applied for and were eligible for. So when you applied for the lottery, you would have received a notice from us that gave you details, confirming your name, the unit size that you applied for, what your household type was, if you had local preference, what your lottery application number was, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you applied for both 3 and 4-bedroom unit and were eligible for both, you'll be on both waiting lists. But if you only applied for the 3-bedroom or were just eligible for the 3-bedroom, you'll only be on that one. Or if you were only eligible for the 4-bedroom, then you'll only be on the 4-bedroom waiting list. So let's look at this. So there's a 3-bedroom unit. There is a local preference tied to this unit. There's 1 such unit and 21 households. So there's just 1 household who either didn't apply or wasn't eligible for this unit. 5 of the households are type 4 or 3, 11 are type 2, and 5 are type 1. 4 applicants have local preference. Now, if you're scratching your head wondering what does all that mean and why does it matter, let me refer you back to the information packet, which maybe you've seen before from when you applied. This is page 14. I'm going to do the lottery drawing tonight. After we conclude this meeting, I'm going to then sort the results and create the waiting lists. When I do that, this waiting list chart right here is what is going to guide me in populating and creating those waiting lists. So when I create the 3-bedroom waiting lists, the first thing I'm going to do is identify the local preference households that were type 3 households. Then I'm going to see who was first, second, third among those households to be drawn. They'll be the first on the waiting list. Then I'll hide them and I'll go to the non-local preference type 3 households. And they'll be next. And then I'll go to the local preference type 2 households, and they'll be next. And the non-local preference type 2 households. Finally, the local preference type 1 and non-local preference type 1. So if you're curious about this, when you get the results and sort of wonder, like, how did I end up where I ended up? I was drawn second, but I'm seventh, or I was drawn seventh, but I'm second. How does that work? This is how it works, okay? Where you're drawn in the lottery is one important input in determining where you are on the waiting list, but it's not the only input. There are other factors, like if you have local preference and your household type, because the program wants us to make sure that we're giving priority to larger households who need all 3 bedrooms, as opposed to smaller households who might just like 3 bedrooms but don't really need 3 bedrooms. So for example, if you're a 1-person household, you're a single person, and you're drawn first in the lottery, you're probably a type 1 household. Well, and let's say you don't have local preference and you're applying for a 3-bedroom. Well, you're in this bottom tier right here. You're a non-local preference type 1 household. That means that even if you're drawn very first in the lottery, you're not going to be first on that waiting list, because there's going to be all these larger household types and households who have local preference ahead of you, even if they were drawn after you. Okay, so keep that in mind.
One question.
Yeah.
So type 4 or type 5, I don't see them in the 3-bedroom units. So are they not eligible for especially type 4?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it'll be type 3 and 4 here because they have the same priority, but that is an error. Thank you for pointing that out, Mohammed, but I will make sure that when I sort it for the 3-bedroom, type 3 and 4 will be the same because they have the same priority for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I will remind my colleague to make sure to get that one next time. Sorry about that. We don't do a lot of lotteries with 4-bedroom units, so I can understand why she missed that. But don't worry, I'll make sure to get it in the way that matters when sorting. So then we have a 4-bedroom unit that does not have local preference. Okay, there's one of them, 8 applicants. 4 are type 4, 2 are type 3, 1 is type 2, 1 is type 1. All right, so when I sort the results for that one, this is how I'm going to populate it. If you're a type 4 household, you'll be in the top tier, then type 3, then type 2, then type 1. Okay, and effectively when you get the waiting list, that is, I mean, that's how it's ordered and grouped, and that informs kind of where you are. We don't need to do a minority drawing because half of the 4 local preference households identified as minority. So there's no additional drawing that we need to do. When we do this lottery in a few moments here, I'm going to use random.org. It is a truly random list generator, and you can plug numbers in and it spits out a totally random new order. And it's much faster and more accurate than the old way we used to do it, which is putting note cards in a box and slowly pulling them out one by one. So it'll go by quickly. I'll show it. It literally takes not even a second for the computer to spit out the new order, but I'll show it on my screen. And if you can't see that for any reason, I'll be happy to tell you where your number is. Again, just remember, where you're drawn in the lottery does not perfectly correlate to where you'll be on the waiting list because of things like household type and local preference or not. When I send you the results, either tonight or first thing tomorrow, you're going to get the waiting list for the 3-bedroom and the 4-bedroom. It will not have your name. It will have your lottery application number. So you should have that on the confirmation email that we sent you when we told you that you were eligible for the lottery. If you can't find it, let us know. We'll be happy to tell you so you can find it. So you just find that number, A.001, A.002, whatever it is, on your waiting list. And that'll show you how many households are ahead of you. If you're highlighted in green, that means you're going to be invited forward right away in the next step of this process. If you're not highlighted in green, that means you're going to have to wait to see what happens with those households who are highlighted in green, if any of them purchase the unit. If they do, unfortunately, you'll be out of luck. If none of them do, then we'll move on to the next round of invites. Please remember, when you submitted a lottery application, you didn't have to submit income asset tax documentation. You did have to get a mortgage pre-approval, and you did have to fill out an application saying what your income and your assets were, but you didn't have to prove it, okay? But in this next step, you're gonna have to actually show through bank statements, W-2s, taxes, pay stubs, etc., 1099s, profit and loss statements if you're self-employed. You're gonna have to actually show us what your income and assets are. We can't just accept what you say it is. The program doesn't allow that. We need to see it. Similar to how a bank, when you're getting a mortgage commitment, really needs to see the documentary evidence of your income and assets. So that will be the next step for households highlighted in green. Please bear in mind, I think we're going to invite 4 households from each waiting list, even though there is only 1 unit of each bedroom type. So 1 unit from each waiting list. So that means we're inviting more households than there are units, which means that even if you're highlighted in green, if you're in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th position, you're not actually guaranteed an opportunity to buy the unit if the number 1 household ends up buying it. And you might ask, well, why do you do that, SEB? Why are you inviting 4 households from each list if there's only 1 unit? And that's because we've done hundreds of lotteries over the years, and we know that it often takes inviting 3 or 4 or 5 or sometimes more than that households to get someone who's eligible, who decides they want to move forward, who can get a mortgage commitment, and who can ultimately close on the unit. It's not a 1-for-1 hit rate. And if we go 1 by 1 by 1, it just really slows down the process and can result in the unit sitting vacant and not being sold for months and months and months. And we want to help the developer find the buyer who can actually close on it and do it as quickly as is possible. And so inviting more households than there are units helps facilitate that goal. But just keep that in mind. If you're the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th household on a waiting list, you're going to be invited forward right away, but you're only going to get the option to purchase the unit if none of the households ahead of you are able to exercise the ability to close on it. Keep in mind, you have to maintain eligibility all the way up through closing. So, if you're a top household and you demonstrate eligibility in this next phase, when we invite you to submit all your documentation, great. You're going to end up putting an offer in on the unit. You'll sign a purchase and sale agreement. You may hire an attorney. You'll work with a bank to get a mortgage commitment. And then about a month before you close on the unit, you're going to have to update your income and asset and tax documents income and asset documents with us. And you have to demonstrate that you maintain eligibility. So stated differently, you could be eligible when you submit all your docs next week, but if in 3 months, when you're getting ready to take the final step and close on the unit, you submit new documents and, you have a new job and now you make twice as much money and you're over the income limit, that's going to be an issue, okay? And you're not going to be able to close on the unit. So you have to maintain eligibility all the way up, not just now, but all the way up through closing. Okay, so let me any questions on that? Any questions? Or is that all making sense? All right, great. So let me actually do the lottery. So I have my Excel spreadsheet here. The first drawing we're going to do is the local preference drawing, which again is only going to have any significance on the 3-bedroom waiting list, not the 4-bedroom. There were only 4 households who indicated that they had local preference. Here they are: A.007, A14, A17, A19. Okay, over here I have random.org, my list randomizer website. This is what I'm going to use. I'm going to plug these numbers here into here. I'm going to hit randomize and it's going to spit out a new order. So this is going to happen real quick. Here we go. Copy, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to hit randomize. And the new order is 14, 17, 19, 7. Copy these. paste them in there, save that. All right, so I know that was really quick. We're gonna move over to the general drawing. Okay, so remember I said there were 22 households for the lottery, so here they are, A.001 all the way through A.022. And I'm gonna take all these. I'm gonna copy them. Gonna paste them in here. Just make sure it gets them all. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm gonna randomize it, and boom. So the new order, just in case you can't see it, actually, let me put it in here. That'll be a little easier to see, and then I'll go through it too. All right, and just in case anyone can't see that, I'm not gonna say the A, just because for economy of speaking, make it a little easier. So here's the order in case you can't see it. It's 016, 004, 010, 008, 021, 006, 014, 020, 017, 011, 022, 012, 009, 019, 005, 007, 015, 002, 013, 001, 018, 003. Again, those are not the waiting lists, okay? I just want to be really clear on that. Those are not the waiting lists. That's just the order households were drawn, which is going to help inform where they are on the waiting list, which again, that was the first thing I showed you. So when I sort these, when we're done with this call, one of the factors I'm going to use is where were you drawn in the lottery drawing, but I'm also going to have to factor in, you know, your household type. Are you type 3 or 4? Are you local preference? Are you not local preference, etc. And then the document that you get from me later tonight or first thing tomorrow, that will be the waiting list. That's going to show you where you are relative to other households for either the 3-bedroom and or the 4-bedroom units. Again, if you're in green, be prepared to get invited forward right away to submit all income and asset and tax docs. If you're not in green, you're going to have to take a wait and see approach. Okay, what questions? Do we have any questions? Because that's kind of it. I know it was quick. The lottery with random.org is very quick, but I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has them.
Is that, so will you do the 4-bedroom separately?
Yes.
Or, oh, okay.
You mean a separate drawing?
Yeah.
No, I don't have to.
Oh,
And I
okay.
understand why you would think that, but I don't have to. Instead, what I'll do is I will just when I do the 4-bedroom, when I create the waiting list, there's no local preference. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into this general drawing, right? And here are the 22 households. And I'm gonna figure out which of them are type 4, okay? And then I'm going to go through and see where they were drawn relative to one another. And I'm going to plug them in to my waiting list in that order, okay? Then I'm going to see who's a type 3 household. And I'm going to see where they were drawn here. And then I'm going to take them and I'm going to plug them into the waiting list in the second tier, okay? And then I'm going to go back into my numbers again. I'm going to see who's a type 2 household. I'll take them in the order that they're drawn here, and I'll plug them into the third tier. And then I'll see who's a type 1 household, and I'll plug them into the bottom tier. Does that make sense?
David, I have a question, please.
Yeah, one quick second. To the woman who asked that question, does my answer make sense?
It does.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Lamia, go ahead.
For transparency, can we know who did apply for the 4 bedrooms, which applications?
You want to know which numbers?
Yes, please.
I'm trying to think. I guess if it's just their application number, I think I can do that. Let me stop sharing because I got to bring up the screen with names. So hold on a second. No. Give me a sec here. Give me a sec. I'm just doing it and then I'll share it. $13. Okay, can you see my screen again? Lamia, can you see my screen again? Whoop.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay, so these highlighted, there were 4 households. So it's 21, 22, 2, and 13. Those were the type 4 households. Any questions on that, or anyone else have any different questions?
And I'm sorry, those were the type 3 and 4 households or just the type 4 households?
Just type 4.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes. One more question, please. When I first applied, it was my wife and I, and she was pregnant. My daughter is now born. Should I update and submit the hospital letter showing that now we're a three-person household?
When you applied, what did you say? What household type did you say you were? Do you remember?
I don't recall. It was just my wife and I in the application. I did mention that she was pregnant, but obviously that my daughter was not born yet. Now she has been born.
Okay, yeah, I mean, unborn
لميا
children do count. Hold on a second.
لميا طلعنا احنا الاولين في ديال 4 bedrooms. احنا 21 ياك. طلعنا
Lamia,
احنا
can you mute yourself, please? Hold on, Daniel. I'm just looking real quick.
Thank you for your help.
Did you apply? Would it be your name on the application? Do you know?
No, I'm sorry. I'm using my brother's Zoom. It should be under Andy Perez. My name is Andy Perez. Andy Perez.
Got it. Yeah, so you're a type 2 household, so that's right, because it's you, your wife or girlfriend, and your child.
Yeah, my wife, and my child. Okay, just want to make sure that my
Yeah.
child was a couple. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. You're correctly categorized as is.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure thing. Any other questions?
Yeah, in local preference, the households that are they all type 3 or are they type 3 or 4? The 4 local candidates that you said?
Let's see here. So the local preference households, 2 are type 2 and 2 are type 1. So there's no type 3 or type 4 local preference households, Mohammed.
Right, so which one will get the priority, the local or type 3, type 4?
Let me show you the waiting list again. So you're gonna get, so what it's basically gonna be is non-local preference type 3, non-local preference type 4, 3 and 4 is what it should say. So non-local preference type 3 and 4 will be first. Then it'll be local preference type 2, non-local type 2, local type 1, non-local type 1. Does that make sense?
Okay, so basically type 4 and type 3 will get the first priority on the 3-bedroom as well as on the 4-bedroom.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, a household type is a weightier criteria than local preference on the local preference list.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? These are good questions. I'm happy to take more if there are any. If there are not any and you think of some later, you can certainly reach out. We'll be happy to answer them. All right, I think that looks like it's it. So thank you everyone for your interest. Thanks for showing up. We'll get those results out to you as quickly as we can. And good luck in next steps. And if this opportunity doesn't end up working out for you, certainly encourage you to apply for others that that we may be involved with or not. So thank you everyone and have a great night.
Thank you.
You got
Thank
it.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks.